Hello, my name is Kaysie Adkins. I am the Family and Consumer Science Extension Agent for Sevier County. I want to welcome you to Day 2 of Sevier County Saves Week. I hope that you enjoyed today's presentation brought to you by Justin Ball from Retire Ready, Tennessee. We are glad that you can join us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Without further ado, let's dive into retirement with Justin Ball.
What is Retire Ready Tennessee? And it's really the state's retirement program. And it encompasses three different things that kind of all fall underneath the Retire Ready umbrella. And the first major thing that we'll talk about is TCRS, or the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System. It's a defined benefit plan. Then we'll also talk about the state 401k and 457 plans that kind of come alongside the defined benefit plan and help bolster that retirement. And then retirement readiness education piece, which is kind of what we're doing now. We do group sessions just like this across the state. And then we do individual sessions as well. And the idea is that with these three things combined, that you are ready for that time period of life when you retire. A lot of people think about retirement as a date in time, but it is really a time period. And a lot of people like to plan vacation, but what we find is that this is the longest vacation that you're ever going to take, and most people don't really plan properly. So the idea behind Retire Ready Tennessee is that we come alongside you to help you plan for that time period of life. So, what is TCRS? That's the first component of the Retire Ready plan, and that's the defined benefit component. It provides a lifetime retirement benefit once you're eligible to retire, and that eligibility may look different depending on whether you're in the hybrid plan or the legacy plan. I'll have a few screens on that here in a minute. But once you reach those thresholds, you can retire with a benefit for the rest of your life. And I usually ask at this point, if I'm meeting in person with folks, how many people they think are over the age of 100 that still get a benefit from TCRS. And I usually get responses of, 5 or 10 or something like that. And I checked a few months ago, and it was actually 126 folks that are over the age of 100 that still get a benefit from TCRS. And I tell you that to show you the power of a lifetime benefit. You cannot outlive your pension plan. It's going to continue to pay you for the rest of your life once you turn that benefit on. So it's a huge piece to your retirement puzzle that you're working with there. And so after you're vested and you cross those thresholds, you would be eligible to start drawing that benefit. Vesting for most people is 5 years of service. There's a few local governments that have 10 years of service vesting, but for most of you, it's going to be 5 years. And your benefit in the TCRS plan is calculated with a set formula. I'm going to show you what that formula looks like. And your employer bears the investment risk. So if you think about 401ks and what's going on in the market and that kind of thing, you don't really have to worry about that because it's a set formula and that employer is bearing that investment risk for you. So if the market goes down, you don't lose your benefit, right? All right. So a few numbers about TCRS. It is a large plan. There's over $65 billion in the plan. And a lot of folks, you can kind of look at the screen there. There's a lot of folks active and then retirees that are in the plan. We pay out, actually now we pay out over $3 billion every year to our retirees. And it's a very well-funded plan. I think that's the main takeaway from this screen is we're consistently in the top three in terms of best state-funded pension plans in the country. And what does that mean for you and I that are in the plan? When we get ready to retire, we don't have to worry about whether there's money there to pay us out. Tennessee is doing the right things all along the way to fund the plan properly so that there's money there when we get ready to retire. What happens when the money comes in, whether it's your contributions or the employer putting money in for you, is those dollars are taken by state employees and invested in the market. So we have a team of folks that do that, and then we pay out the benefits based off, the formula. But that money is coming from employer contributions, employee contributions, and then earnings in the market. And actually, over 2/3 of the payout that goes out every year is from those earnings. So we paid out a little, like I said, a little over $3 billion last year in retirement benefits, and a little over $2 billion of that came from investment earnings. So that team is doing a good job at investing that money and getting that return so that we can continue to pay out the benefits to those employees. So. All right, so what determines your TCRS benefit? And there's two main factors that can come into play, and then one other factor that may come into play. The first factor is your average final compensation. We call this your AFC. This is the highest 60 consecutive months of salary wherever it comes in your career. Typically, it's the last 5 years of someone's career, but it doesn't have to be. It can be anywhere. If you made more in the middle of your career, we'll take that highest 60 consecutive months. The other main factor is your years of service in the plan. So the total number of years and months of credible service that you have in TCRS will get plugged into a formula as well. So people ask me a lot, you know, how do I increase my TCRS benefit? Well, there's two main ways. You make more money or you work longer. And one of those we can control, and one of those we really don't have a whole lot of control over. But if you work longer or you have a larger salary, that's going to plug into the formula and increase your benefit. Your age at retirement can also come into play if you decide to retire early, or if I choose a survivor option to get my benefit for the rest of their life, their age will come into play because they're going to look at how old that person is when they start drawing that benefit and how long we've got to pay out that benefit. So there would be a reduction to your benefit based off the age of that person. So the younger survivor that you might choose, the lower your benefit's going to be because they have to pay that person out longer. All right, so let's look at the legacy plan. So this is for folks, if you're in state government, and this is where it gets a little tricky because we might have different people from local government or state government here. So, and the legacy plan, if you're in the state government, if you were hired before July 1st, 2014, you would be in the legacy plan. Or if you're in a local government there in Sevier County that only has the legacy plan, you would be in that plan. Or if your local government has changed to the hybrid, you'd have to be in the legacy plan before they made that change. So a little complicated there, but hopefully everyone knows which plan they're in, and we can address that in questions a little bit later if you have those. But here's the legacy plan design. So essentially, this is your formula, and this is the screen that most people want to see when I give presentations. This is the main thing that they're looking for. And if you have a calculator or your phone there, you can kind of plug some numbers in and get an idea of what your benefit might look like. But your accrual factor is 1.575%. So essentially, for every year that you work in the legacy plan, you replace 1.575% of that salary. And so, like for example, here, if a 30-year employee, 30 times 1.575% gives me 47.25%. So that person would replace almost half of their income through TCRS. And then I'm going to multiply it by my average final compensation. That's that highest 60 consecutive month salary. Most people don't know that number off the top of their head. You know, if you asked me today, I couldn't tell you what my average final compensation is. I have a rough idea, but the closer you are to this number, the more accurate your benefit's going to be. Benefit estimate here. And if you don't know at all, you can plug in this year's salary to kind of give you an idea. But I'm going to plug those things in, and then that gives me my annual benefit. Then, of course, I can divide that by 12 to see what my monthly benefit would be. So you can kind of see there, if I work longer or I make more money, they're going to plug into this formula, and that's going to increase my TCRS benefit. Now, when am I eligible for this as a legacy employee? Again, I have 5-year vesting typically. There's a few local governments that have that 10-year vesting, but I think all the ones in Sevier County have 5-year vesting. And the eligibility for an unreduced benefit would be age 60 and vested, or 30 years of service at any age. So if you started at 20 years old, worked a solid 30 years in the plan, and you have 30 years of credible service, now you're 50 years old, but you're eligible to retire. On the flip side of that, if I started at 55, I worked 5 years, now I'm vested, and now I'm 60 years old, I'm eligible to retire. But the longer I work in the system, the higher my benefit's going to be. I'm just eligible to retire without a reduction to that benefit for retiring early. Now, members in the legacy plan, if your local government has adopted the state 401k or 457 plan, then you would be eligible to participate in those plans. Now, state employees, you're eligible to participate in the 401k or 457 automatically because the state has adopted that, or it's the state's plan. So, but that is a great way to save additional monies in addition to what you've got with your TCRS legacy plan. Because as you can see, even with 30 years of service, I still don't replace all of my income. I'm almost half, right? And so even when you add that with Social Security, you're probably not going to be to 100%. So that's why 401k or 457 is important to the legacy employee as well. One other thing I get asked a lot on this screen is, does it benefit me to work longer than 30 years in the system? And the answer to that is yes. The longer you work in the system, the higher benefit's going to be. So let's say I work 32 years in the system. Now I'll multiply that by 1.575%. Now I'm over 50% of income replacement. It eventually caps out, but you have to work almost 57 years in the system in the legacy plan to hit that cap. So most people aren't hitting that, but we have seen it happen with long-time employees. But for the most part, you don't typically have to worry about that cap until you've worked there a really long time. So all right, so that is the legacy plan. So we're going to talk briefly about the hybrid plan as well. So the hybrid for state employees, again, if you were hired on or after July 1st, 2014, or you were hired in a local government plan, a city plan or a county plan, and they have the hybrid plan for new employees, then you would be in this. And so it kind of works similar, but with a hybrid plan, what we think of a hybrid car has gas and electric to get where you want to go. A hybrid retirement plan uses a defined benefit plan, which is like a pension, a TCRS that pays you a lifetime benefit, as well as a 401k then that's incorporated with it. That's how the hybrid retirement plan is set up. So you can kind of see this formula here. It looks similar to the legacy formula, but it's a little lower. The accrual factor is 1%. But we're still going to multiply by the same, average final compensation and years of service to get the annual benefit here. Obviously, the longer you work or the higher your salary is, the higher your TCRS benefit is going to be as well. So the eligibility for retirement in the hybrid TCRS side is, vested in age 65. Investing here again is 5 years, or the rule of 90. That means your age plus years of service equals 90. So if I were 60 years old with 30 years of service, I hit that rule of 90, or 55 with 35 years, any combination to hit 90, and I can retire with an unreduced benefit. Now that's half of the plan. The other half is the 401k. So if you're in the hybrid with cost controls plan with the state or the local government that adopted it, the employer is going to put money into your 401k regardless of if you put any money in or not. So they put in 5%, as you can see on the chart down there, into your 401k. And you would be automatically enrolled in 2% of your salary going into a 401k. That little one there that sticks up above the 2%, that indicates that you can change that. So essentially, you can go up or down in that 2% automatically and enrolled in the 401k. So you can increase it, leave it the same, or decrease it. Our encouragement to you would be to at least leave it in that 2%. And obviously, the more money you can save in a 401k, the better off you'll be in retirement as well. But if you can leave it at least in that 2%, that's going to give you a better chance to kind of be on par with someone who's in a legacy plan as far as income replacement at the point of retirement. Okay. So let's all get back together here, all our hybrid and legacy folks, and you do have the cost of living adjustment built into your plan if you're with the state or the local government has adopted that, and most local governments have that, but that might be something you want to check with your HR department if you're in a local government, just to make sure that they have. But it is a raise in retirement, and so when you retire, we all know that the cost of goods goes up, and so this is a way to kind of offset that. It's tied to inflation. It is capped at 3%. So our retirees the past 2 years have gotten 3% because inflation has been higher than that. But in a typical year, you might see inflation be something like, you might see it be 2.1 or 1.9%. And so that's what the cost of living adjustment would be. And for most cases, it's a compounded COLA, which means it stacks on top of each other. So it's a tremendous benefit to have. And we all know that groceries are more expensive, gas is more expensive, housing is more expensive, and this helps offset that. One key factor to think about with the cost of living adjustment as well is you have to be retired for 12 full months on July 1st in order to get your first cost of living adjustment. So if you retire on July or June 30th, you don't get the cost of living adjustment the next day, but 12 months from then, you would start getting that first cost of living adjustment. If you retire in July, you essentially wait about 24 months before you start getting that. So when people ask me, is there a better time of year to retire than another? There may be other factors in there, but if there's not, June is typically better than July for the cost of living adjustment reason there. So, all right, let's talk about the deferred compensation plans a little bit more in depth. And so this is going to be your 401k and 457. Again, the state employees are going to have this, and local governments may or may not, depending on if they have passed it in your local government. So The first thing we'll talk about is the state 401k. And so that is available, again, if your local government has passed it or if you're in the state plan. The great thing about the state 401k plan is, with any retirement plan that you have, if you have an IRA or something like that, you pay fees on that. And the state's plans have extremely low fees because it's a very large plan. There's a lot of state employees, a lot of teachers, and then local government employees in the plan as well. So it helps lower that fee structure down. The state's also not in it to make a profit, so we don't have commission representatives out there trying to get you to put more money in because it increases their commission. They are non-commission employees, so they're basically there to help you invest and have a better retirement, right? So the great thing about the 401k is those low fee structures and having that education that's alongside it, with our retirement plan advisors that can walk you through that process. There's a few different types of 401ks that are out there. We have the traditional 401k, which means it goes in pre-tax. So it reduces your current taxes, but then you have to pay the taxes when you do draw that money out in retirement. We also have a 401k, a Roth 401k, which is after-tax contributions. And so you pay the taxes on it now, but then you have a bucket of money to pull out of in retirement that you don't have to pay taxes on. So they're each great in their own right. People ask me all the time, which one is better? And my answer is typically, I don't know, because I don't know what the tax rate's going to be in the future, right? So there's advantages to, some people want to lower their taxes now. You've got a mortgage, you've got kids, and the different reasons that you want to lower your taxes now. And then there's people that say, I just want that money non-taxed when I get ready to retire because my income's going to be a little bit lower, right? And so they're both great options. I know people that do both, right? You can put money into each of these. If you have the 401k and your employer is putting in any money, all employer contributions would go into the pre-tax, but your contributions as the employee can go into either one. And you can contribute, the minimums to participate are $10 per paycheck or 1% of your check, up to the IRS contribution limits, which are very high. It's $23,000 a year if you're under age 50. And then if you're over age 50, the IRS gives you a catch-up provision that allows you to contribute an additional $7,500. So you can put a lot of money away. And I know you're sitting there saying, well, I can't afford to put that much in, right? Because I still have to pay my mortgage and I have to buy groceries and things like that. But there's some other factors that could come into play here. People don't think about sometimes. It has to be tax deducted, but let's say you inherited some money, right, or inherited a home, and you're going to sell that home. You can live off that money and defer 100% of your paycheck into a 401k here to kind of lower that taxable income that you have. So it's a great way to be able to save money that way. So, and don't think because we're throwing out these large numbers, you have to put that, a large amount in. This graphic here at the bottom kind of shows, $50 contribution every month. Over 30 years, if it's gaining, we kind of did a projection here with 6% annual return. It could be more than $50,000 in more income in retirement. So it adds up fast, and you have more money that you can draw out of in retirement to do the things that you want to do. There's also a 457B plan that's available for state employees. And then again, if you're a local government, your local government would have to pass this resolution. But this is another way that you can save monies. The advantage to a 457 is that there's no age that you have to be to start drawing that money out as long as you've separated from service. So if you were to retire early, so you retire at 52, you could start drawing money out of a 457 without any penalty on that. And with a 401k, typically you have to be 59 and a half before you can touch that. But in the state's plan, if you're over age 55 and retire, you can start drawing off the 401k. But they work essentially the same way. The 457 just allows you access to it earlier if you are separated from service. There's not that retirement age there. So, but very similar to how they work. You can actually max out both plans if like I said, if you inherited a home or something like that and wanted to really lower your taxable income, you can max out these because they don't share contribution limits. So. All right, so a couple of good resources for you. We have retirereadytn.gov is a good website for you to go to for Any questions that you have TCRS related or the 401k 457, there's a lot of good guides there you can kind of see on the left side of your screen. And then we have an app that's available through Empower Retirement, as well as the lifetime income score. I'm going to show you that here. This is the lifetime income score. This is a great resource. If you're not utilizing it, I would highly encourage you to do so. But you can see the different color bar graphs here. And so the green represents the savings that you have through TCRS and a 401k or 457. The yellow is Social Security, what we project that your Social Security will look like. The blue is any other assets that you might have. If you have like rental property or an IRA sitting out there or something like that, that's the blue. And then the red is the income gap between what you're making now and what you'll be making in retirement. And you can kind of see that chart there that shows the 79%. This person has 79% of their income replaced in retirement if they kind of stay on the same course here until they retire. Well, that's great, but some people may say, I can't afford to live off 79%. I need closer to 100, right? So how do you change that? There's a few slider bars down there that you can kind of see. And this person, I think, is putting in 5% right now. So if they slid that over to 6% or 7%, what you would see in real time is that 79% would increase a little bit. So it kind of shows you, if I start saving more now, how does that increase my readiness to retire? Or if I slide that bar over and if I work a little bit longer, instead of working from 60 at 62 and retire, what if I worked until 65 or 67? How does that change my retirement readiness? So it gives you that in real time. You kind of plan out, when you will be ready to retire, and we can kind of help you with that as well. But it's a great resource for you to utilize. You can see this on the app or on the retirereadytn.gov. But once you log into that, but there's a lot of other tools there that you can utilize as well. So one last thing on 401k and 457, if you have outside plans like a 401a or a 401k or maybe an IRA or something like that and wanted to roll that into the state's plan, you can typically do that. The big advantage there, I think, would be the low fee structure. It's typically going to be lower fees than other places that you might have money. And it kind of gets everything under one umbrella as far as when you go in to meet with someone to retire, they can pull in the data from your 401k or 457 and pair that with your TCRS benefit and kind of see what your overall retirement picture looks like. So it's a comprehensive retirement education that would take place if you have it all kind of under the same umbrella there. So. All right, let's talk about beneficiaries. And so this is a kind of a point of emphasis for the Treasury right now. What we've noticed is a lot of people don't have beneficiaries listed. And so what it will say is the estate of so-and-so, right? Because you have not listed a beneficiary either on TCRS or 401k or 457. And unfortunately, what happens there is if you were to pass away in service, it kind of is up to the court system to decide who gets that money that's you've contributed in. And so what we want is for that money to go to who you want it to go to if something unfortunate were to happen to you while you're still working. So it's important to have a beneficiary on file and update that as life happens. So if you get married, you get divorced, someone passes away, those are good indicators to go check your beneficiary. And it's also important to realize that just because I've changed my beneficiary in one place, it does not automatically update somewhere else. So if I change my TCRS beneficiary, it does not update my 401k, 457, life insurance, those kind of things. So you may have 4, 5, 6 different places that you have to update your beneficiaries, but just make sure that you're taking a look at those. And those are difficult conversations that I've had before when someone has not updated a beneficiary and there's an ex-spouse that gets that benefit, and that's tough, right? And for the current spouse to have to hear that. So again, those are good indicators to go check your beneficiary as life has happened and things have changed for you. Or if you've never selected one, you started work years ago, but you never selected one, it may be good to go and check that beneficiary. So let's talk about retirement readiness education. Again, that's kind of what we're doing now in a group presentation. We are happy to come out to your local government or state office and do a similar presentation to this. We do those all the time across the state, and we have 16, or I believe we're up to now 17 retirement plan advisors across the state. So wherever you are, there's someone within about an hour or so that can come out to your place of work and kind of do a group presentation. But we also do individual sessions as well. There's two different types of individual sessions. One would be a retirement readiness review. That's for anyone at any stage in your career. If you're 20 years old, you're 65 years old, or anywhere in between, and you want to plan for retirement, we have folks that can do that for you. And then we have pre-retirement counseling as well. And so this is for the person who is within a year or so of retiring, or maybe a little bit longer, but they're really starting to plan out, what it's going to look like when they retire. And so these are all services that are available at no additional fee as a member of TCRS. This is free service for you. So take advantage of those, and you can set those up through calling our 1-800 number I'll show you at the end of the presentation, or going to our website, and you can actually schedule a meeting directly from our website as well. So let's talk about that online retirement, in case we have anybody that is close to that time period now, and kind of what that looks like. My advice for you with the online retirement application is to apply 3 to 4 months ahead of your retirement date. And then, and the reason for that is it takes about 90 days to process a retirement application. So if you start 3 or 4 months ahead from your retirement date, ideally you will work, get your last paycheck from your employer, and then the end of the next month, you'll get your first TCRS benefit. If you apply the day that you retire, you're going to wait about 3 months before you get your first TCRS benefit, which may be okay for you, may not be, right? If you have to figure out how to provide for yourself or family for that 3 months, then it may be difficult. So if you start 3 or 4 months ahead, that's ideal. You cannot apply more than 5 months ahead, but 3 or 4 months is kind of that sweet spot, I think. So what do you need to know before you actually go to apply for retirement? There's a few things that you'll need to check, and there's only about 7 questions, but you'll want to make sure that your contact and mailing addresses are up to date. Make sure your beneficiary is up to date. You confirm your plan selection, whether you're going to take the benefit just for you, or if you want a survivor to get that benefit for the rest of their life as well. Remember, that lowers your benefit down depending on the age of that survivor. So you want to make an educated decision there, and there's resources that can help you with that. We do benefit estimates, but you'll want to start selecting or requesting a benefit estimate about a year out, really, because it takes 60 days or so to get that benefit estimate back, and then you have to apply a few months ahead. So you really want to start that process a little earlier than you might think, but within a year of retiring. And so then you have all those numbers to say, if I take the benefit for myself, here's what it's going to be, or if I choose a survivor, here's what it's going to be. And so you actually have to confirm that benefits plan selection on your retirement application if you want to take the benefit just for myself or have that survivor. I'll also need to have my bank account information for the direct deposit. So I need that routing number and checking account number and all that. And then whether you're going to have taxes withheld or not, you can choose, how you file your taxes, whether it's single or married filing jointly, or however you do that, you'll make that selection on the retirement application as well. And then you may have to upload some documents like your driver's license to the application and then submit it. Once you have submitted that application, your employer will then certify it, and you can kind of follow along online and see where it is in the process. Again, it takes about 90 days to process that application. And then once you start receiving your benefit, you'll get that on the last business day of every month for the rest of your life. So that's the great part about TCRS. It pays you guaranteed income for the rest of your life. So, all right, and let's talk finally here kind of about what happens if I want to come back to work. So if I want to return to work for a company that's not in TCRS, doesn't matter. We don't care. Right? If you want to go work at Lowe's or Home Depot or Dollywood there in Sevier County, it doesn't matter. You can work there as much as you want and draw your TCRS benefit, and we don't care, right? When we do care is when you go back to work for another TCRS covered employer. So if you go back to work for the state or you go back to work for a local government that is in TCRS, you're limited as far as how much you can work. It's typically going to be 120 days within a 12-month period, which is the equivalent of 960 hours. You usually have to wait about 60 days after you have retired to return to work. And then there's limitations as far as your salary as well. You cannot make more than 60% of what you were making the last year before you retired. It does increase a little bit each year that you work in retirement, but that's essentially kind of what your limitations would be if you're returning to work for a TCRS covered employer. So, all right, and that concludes the presentation today. Here's my contact information. I live just down the road from you all in Newport, but there's my email and phone number. So feel free to reach out to me with any questions, or if you want us to come out to your employer and do a presentation, I'm happy to set that up. Like I said, we have retirement plan advisors that do that, but I can get you connected with them and set that up. And then here's some other good contact information. Again, the retirereadytn.gov website, as well as the Retire Ready call center. You can ask any question through that 1-800 number there. They're open Monday through Friday from 9 until 8. So any question about TCRS or a 401k 457 plan. So they're first in all of those. So feel free to reach out to them as well. And at this point, I guess we will open it up to any questions that have come in.
Thank you so much, Justin. That was great. We did have a question come in the chat, and it says, will you repeat the age that you can draw from 401k when separated from service?
Yes. So there's two different ages to keep in mind. So traditionally, you hear 59 and a half is the number for 401ks. With the state of Tennessee's plan, if you are age 55 or older when you retire, you can draw off that benefit without a reduction. You have to pay the taxes if it's in a traditional 401k, but you don't have a penalty for that. If you were to retire at 54 in the state's plan, you have to wait until 59 and a half. So that's why why it's a little confusing there. There's two different numbers. So the safe number is 59 and a half, but if you retire at 55 or later in the state plan, you can start drawing off that benefit without a penalty.
I hope that you enjoyed today's presentation. If you have any questions or comments related to the topic, please don't hesitate to contact our office at 865-453-3695. And remember, we're better together. Have a great day. Bye.